And we're live. I am thrilled to be here with Dr. David Heitmann. Welcome, David, who's tuning in from, remind me what city?
Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. Yes, yes. So let me just officially introduce you, Dave, before we dive in, because you've got an incredible background and I'm really excited to share you with my audience. Whoops, LinkedIn says you're not approved. I apologize. LinkedIn. Okay, we're not live on LinkedIn. Sorry, I just got distracted by a message because I'm sharing you everywhere, Dave. I want to share you with the world. Cool. You're on YouTube apparently as well. I've connected, but yeah.
Nice.
LinkedIn is going to come later. Sorry about that. Okay, so Dr. Dave is a visionary doctor, speaker, and entrepreneur who uses precision wellness to improve people's daily lives. He's also an expert in biohacking and optimization. Dr. Dave helps people understand their fitness tracker, what their data means, and how to program their health so they feel empowered to live their best life full of energy and joy. I'm excited to ask you all about that. So tune in. You're tuning in with us now to learn how you can work smarter and harder in a sustainable way. Dr. Dave, you have a background. I know you trained as a chiropractor initially, and I'd love you to share, just what I love to know is what led you to where you are now. So you're going to fill us in on on your trainings in between before we dive into your 6 best tips for us to feel more energized and lead our best lives, right?
Yeah, for sure. And it's been quite a journey. And the reason why I have the validity to say the ability to find your energy and find your joy is because I've had such an interesting story and I love sharing it. And it's one of definitely climbing mountains and falling down in through the cliffs kind of thing, so to speak.
We love those stories.
Both literally and I've almost fallen off cliffs a couple of times.
Right.
But also metaphorically of the journey of my life. So yeah, if we want, we can get started right away.
Absolutely. I'd love you to dive in from the beginning of where you think it's relevant about what led you to where you are now. I mean,
yeah. Thank you.
From a very early age, so, there's some moments in our lives where we decide, oh, that's what I want to do, right?
Yeah. And for me, mine was in 4th grade. I had actually written this on a piece of paper that I still have, that I wanted to be a professional football player. And it was a conscious decision that I was going to embark on health and wellness. I was obsessed with Bill Phillips and Muscle and Fitness magazine and all of the things back then of what you could get into as a kid. And I was always at the weight room. I was developing strength and conditioning programs.
That was 4th grade, I hope. You weren't in the fitness. That was later, right? That came later that you were...
No, that was by 6th grade. I had my parents helped me build a little gym in my basement, and we were working with the neighborhood kids. And it was just what I loved to do. I played hours upon hours of sports and hours upon hours of video games.
Well, that's a nice balance.
It was a great balance and back and forth. But one thing led to another where I had just I had trouble spelling. I had trouble, in certain subjects in school, and in other subjects I was like, shooting for the moon, where it would just science and technology came very, very easy for me. And so by high school, I was taking college level credit classes in chemistry and biology, physics. And really that just led into a double major in undergrad with a biochemistry and molecular biology degree. I did all sorts of biomechanics research in there. And it was just really this passion around movement-based and what it means to be truly healthy, nutrition, and the science behind the body. It was just really geeky for me, and I just had a passion.
Yeah.
So that led to chiropractic school. And in chiropractic school, I specialized in sports medicine. I also got a master's degree in sports science and rehabilitation, and then umpteen different letters behind my name of different degrees and certifications that I have gone through.
Wow.
On top of that, I was also, because going back to the 4th grade, I wanted to be the pro football player. I did play competitive sports up until I was about 27. And through 14 broken bones and torn ligaments, I learned a lot about the healthcare system.
Wow, 14! Touch wood, I haven't broken any. I haven't broken any bones yet.
I've been around the block, so to speak, of tearing things,
Wow.
breaking things, having sicknesses, severe diseases, debilitating conditions, debilitating back pain, where bowel
Wow.
and bladder, loss of control of bowel and bladder, loss of control of my legs. I've had my foot chopped up in a lawnmower.
Oh
You
my
know,
God.
the list goes on of Dr. Dave's craziness in his life, so to speak. But all of that was just whittled down as I really enjoyed going to the doctor and reading the X-rays, and
That's
I just
amazing.
yeah, it was this
Like you
weird.
manifested all those incidents so you could be your own test.
Yeah. My parents always joke that you know, they just stood in the background and watched me talk to the doctors when I was a kid.
It's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, so it was you know, to say that this was a lifelong passion is you know, it's just through and through. I breathe it, I live it. Anyone who talks to me, doesn't matter, we could be out bowling or something and we'll end up talking about anatomy and physiology or
Right.
mechanics of something.
Wow.
So, but all that to say is that when I got into practice, I ended up having a really big success very quickly, and all of it came crashing down. I actually ended up losing my health in a major kind of way. And it was because I was so passionate about what I was doing. I was putting in, you know, well over 100 hours, 7 days a week, trying to grow my business. I
Ouch.
would start at like 6 in the morning and wouldn't get home until midnight, you know, a lot of times. And then my mind racing at night of how do I help this patient? How do I do this? And I was just not getting sleep.
You ran yourself into the
And
ground.
I literally ran myself into the ground. I had gained 60 pounds. I was just severely swollen. My joints were painful. I had severe brain fog where I could barely do simple math. People would ask me something about a calendar, like, oh, next week on Thursday. And I literally just would freeze looking at the calendar because I couldn't figure out like how many days in between on the calendar.
Right.
Uh,
Were you consciously aware, Dave, at the time that what was going on?
I wasn't at the beginning, and it really wasn't until one day I had this aspect where I was so zoned out. I was driving to work, and the thought crossed my mind of like, maybe I should just drive off the road and hurt myself because I just really don't feel like showing up for work today.
Right.
And I hit the rumble strips, and it was one of those things that kind of like snapped me to. And it was almost an immediate reaction in my head of like, whoa, crap, I need help.
Yeah.
And I had never imagined myself as the, you know, the successful sports player, the successful person. I never imagined that I would need help.
Right.
And that was that realization. That was that ticking, defining moment for me where I said, okay. And I started opening up the whole personal development world.
Right.
And
Can I just pause there? Sorry, Dave, because
yeah,
I'm very passionate about the, you know, that moment where you thought I never knew I would need help. It's like, you know, for the ego, it's not easy, right? But I think it's really important, you know, what you said, because help is available. And I find it really difficult to watch people that are struggling not go for help. And what would your advice be to them? Did you struggle with it, or was it, no, I definitely need to go for help, or was it difficult to?
I just had no idea. Like I was completely clueless, and even people trying to make hints towards it. In my mind, I was in such a flow, right?
Right.
That there was nothing wrong, and it was a complete denial and a complete like wall. And
Yeah.
even when I look back at it, to all of my patients, I had just this mask on. I was the happy-go-lucky person that I pushed all my energy into my patients to get them better.
Right.
Everyone thought that I was like this high energy, lovable type of person, which is why I grew the practice so fast.
Yes.
But all of that was a defense mechanism to not let me listen to other people who were reaching out to me and saying, hey, you should probably, you know, do something a little bit differently. You're going to eventually crash and burn. And I just couldn't hear it. I just couldn't at all.
Until you caught that thought where it was, yeah, I should drive off this road here. And
yeah. And I think for other people, it's, you know, now that I've had that recognition. So the rest of the story is I went on a very long journey to figure out my health. And that's what I now do professionally for people. Is this new way of looking at health was the journey that I had to go through. So I went through all the traditional methods of trying testosterone, and I'll do a candida detox, or I'll switch over to paleo, or maybe I'll sign up for an Ironman. I'm just lazy and I need to get in shape, right? And I did all these things,
Right.
and all of them made me worse. And so this new system that I had developed from that is what I do now. So now looking back and helping people, I understand that you can't tell anyone to do anything. You have to take them through their self-exploration tools.
Yes.
And so you have to get them to have their aha moment. Instead of telling them, hey, you're going down the path to burnout, you have to help them realize, well, like, are you finding joy in this? Like, you have to start asking questions.
Powerful questions. Powerful
Yeah.
questions can change our lives, right? Yeah.
Yep. And that's really what it's about. And so that's what I do now too. I mean, shorting this whole conversation up. It's this aspect of how can you dig into someone internally to get them to take action?
How can you dig into somebody internally to get? That's great. I love it. Yes, I want to know. Tell me, how did you find the solution, an answer to that question?
Well, yeah, like I said, for me personally, and this is also that recognition that everyone is completely different. For me personally, what I had to go through was I had to go through this massive failure. I ended up declaring bankruptcy.
Right.
And this was a massive ego shift for me, since we were talking about ego. And the decision to make, to go through bankruptcy, well before that, I had started working on the awareness around my ego. And I had come into light of that as kind of the what Tim Ferriss would hope for. I had come across his 4-Hour Workweek book and started reading that. And what I ended up taking out of that was some links to Stoic philosophy.
Oh, yes, I remember you.
So you and I have a common ground of Stoic.
Right.
And so I just started reading Stoicism, and it just happened to be that one of my employees was a philosophy major, and he helped guide me through resources and material. And so he gave me like counseling, which was really awesome. And through working through the, I don't know what you want to call it, the process of just slowly opening my mind up to Stoicism, which teaches how to set your ego aside. It teaches that you are in control of your own reactions. And I developed my own motto from all of this, and that it was purely, I'm in control of my own destiny. And that was my motto for a good 2 or 3 years. Everything I did, I asked myself, does this fit into this, or does it not fit into this? And for me, deciding to go bankrupt was me controlling my destiny. It was the thing that was, one, it was logical from a financial standpoint of the things that I'd done. I couldn't physically practice chiropractic anymore because we didn't even get into it, but I ended up having stress fractures all over. I broke my finger in half. My elbow broke in half. My teeth started falling out.
Wow.
So,
you really were getting all the messages from your body that it was time for change, right?
Yeah, it was literally smacking me in the face. And
and I think what's interesting as well to point out, because this is also more common than we realize, I think that you had a very busy practice, although you had to file for bankruptcy. So
from the business side of it, being busy is not the best thing.
Working smarter, not harder, right? That's
exactly. Yeah, I had taken on way too much debt. People had started taking advantage of me, and all sorts of weird things started happening. The stuff that you hear about in business that you think are just these stories out in the ether, oh, that could never happen to me. And it happened to me. So,
Yeah. So then the gift in that, or the opportunity in that challenge, was that you pivoted to what was the next stage?
Pivoted to the new me, and the new me had set aside ego. The new me had really started looking for new ways to do business. The new me had started looking for new ways to do health and wellness, because what I realized that I had been coaching people on for, the thousands of patients that I had in my office, it didn't work for me. And so how could I change that to help other people?
Right.
And so I came up with essentially a roadmap for people in different categories.
6 different categories, right?
Yeah, the big 6 different categories. Yep. And the concept now that I teach is how to fill your bucket. And if you imagine your energy as the water in the bucket, the things you do from your training program, your business, your family, your lifestyle, all of these things either take water out of the bucket or they put water in the bucket. And everyone is unique. And the reason why I like describing it this way is that filling up your bucket may be reading books, filling up my bucket may be skydiving. And what you need to know is what works for you.
Yeah, self-awareness.
Yeah, the self-awareness. And then this is what led me to really dive into the biometric devices. I'd already been coaching my athletes with biometric devices because I had so many athletes, and especially Ironman athletes. They all have their Garmin watches. And
I'm really curious to dive in there. Can we dive in there now, or
well, whatever is in flow. It's really about, biometrics allows us the self perspective from an objective data standpoint. And that objective data can really help us understand if we're going in the right direction or not, and match that with our feelings. And that's what no one's doing in the industry right now, is all these devices, they give you a whole bunch of data, and you as the end user don't know how to use them.
Right, absolutely. And the feeling part is really important as well. I must say I'm really curious to hear more, Dave, because I have dabbled in them a little bit, but I've never gotten into them because I thought, okay, I do go on feeling, how I'm feeling. But I have been inside your Facebook group called Authentique, with 2 I's at the end, which I'd highly recommend everyone to join. Dave gives fantastic advice there.
Me too.
And but what I'm picking up already, it's like, oh my God, I really think it's worthwhile getting all these devices. So not all of them, maybe start. That's what I'm curious, where to start, which device to start with, and what do you think is the best ones for giving us feedback on valuable feedback on our health.
Yep. It's a really fun conversation right now because it's a super exciting time for me. The technology curve, people really don't see how fast this technology is improving. I'm on the very innovative curve side of it. And the amount of devices, the amount of things that are coming out for humans here in the next 5 years is just, whoa, it's going to blow your mind of all of the different sensors that we're going to have on us.
Wow.
They now have Band-Aids that measure your electrolyte level. So like as an athlete, you can start to put that on. These aren't available to market yet, but this is where the future of health is that the future of health is not going to the doctor. The future of health is having someone like myself interpret all of the sensors that are around you in your life.
Wow.
We're entering the age where all of this data is going to be streaming into central hubs. So you're going to have the amount of screen time calculated, right? How long are you on your computer?
Yes.
You're going to have your bed linked up to your temperature and how much are you tossing and turning.
Oh my God.
Right? Like, so, and when you go to the bathroom, your toilet will do a urinalysis for you to check your electrolyte chemicals.
Oh my God. I mean, I can imagine some people thinking that's a complete invasion of privacy and they don't want that level of, to that to be available. But at the same time, it's fascinating, right?
Totally. But, and also think of it as the billion people that are on Facebook, right? Privacy, people always bring up the privacy thing. My personal belief is that this is all going to be health data. It's all going to be protected. The new age of the internet is that this stuff will all come into a central hub where your data privacy will be extremely protected. and it's going to be helpful. It's going to be way more helpful for you on a daily basis than it is harmful on a long-term basis.
Yeah, I mean, I find it fascinating, and I have nothing to hide. I don't care. It's like,
Right.
conversations, people say, "Oh, it's not private on here." I don't care. I wish I had a more exciting life. They can read my conversations. There's nothing there personally that I worry about personally, but I know that a lot of people do. I do use one app though. I just realized there is one thing I measure, and I'm a bit obsessed with it. It's called the Sleep Cycle app. I don't know if you know it. Yep. I love it. It's like, it's fascinating for me to look the next morning at, how I slept. And last night I forgot to, I thought I had pressed I'm sleeping now, or I can't remember what you pressed, but I hadn't activated it. And this morning I'm like, oh, I have no data.
And that's where I think a lot of the focus is right now, is on the sleep. And because it is, almost all of the devices do a decent job at tracking your sleep. So they give you really good metrics of, wow, did I sleep okay? Or maybe I thought I slept okay, but my data shows differently. Mm-hmm. Or my data shows that I got a lot of sleep and I don't feel great. And so what isn't happening right now is helping people understand that dynamic. You basically get, oh, I slept 8 hours. Great. What does that mean?
Yeah.
And that's what my group is all about, is helping people understand those different metrics. It's also about understanding what works well for you. Right. So we may do something like, you wanted some tips and tactics today.
Yes. In each of the 6 areas, one tip from each of the 6 areas.
Yeah. Let's just say we do in the sleep aspect, we get you to turn off all your blue light devices an hour before you go to bed. So that's no screen time, no television, but that's also your overhead lights. And, in my house, we have LED red bulbs that are true red bulbs.
Okay.
There's no blue light admitted. And we also have, the old Thomas Edison amber bulbs.
Okay.
And so by not having any blue light an hour before bed, it allows your melatonin to go into production, into full swing.
Well, that's why. I will tell you something. Sorry to interrupt, but I have the glasses. I got them. I read it somewhere, but I've kind of forgotten to wear them lately. Yes, exactly. Yes.
I got all sorts of them. Yeah, normally I'm wearing them on the computer, but it's been, I don't even really have lights on. I just have one little bulb in front of me right now because the sunlight's coming in.
Right.
But yeah, blue light disrupts our sleep patterns. And
I'm just wondering what percentage, like, is it, is it massive, the difference it makes, or?
It's massive. So I live my life in percentages. It's not an all or none for everyone. Some people get affected by blue light. Some people don't really get affected by blue light all that much. It does. So from an evolutionary standpoint, when the sun starts to go down, it turns red. That's a signal for our body to start producing melatonin, that we're supposed to go into our sleep cycle.
Okay.
Right? So if we constantly leave a blue light on, which is the same as what the sun is in the midday, our body still thinks that it's midday.
Oh, wow. Okay. It's so simple. Yeah.
Yeah. And some people, that's going to affect them more than others. And so for me, it works really well. I can throw my glasses on my computer, and I can work on my computer up until that hour before I go to bed without having any detrimental effects in my sleep.
Right.
And if I don't wear the glasses, if I keep the lights on, I can see a change in my sleep metrics.
Interesting. Oh, that's really interesting. I'm curious though, because here, it's 5:25 p.m. and it's dark outside, whereas in the summer it's bright until 10 p.m. So that's a big difference. So
it really is. And evolutionary, we have compensation patterns for that. When we look at different genetic patterns across people, based on the regions where they come from across the world, we know that Northern Europeans have something called a second sleep. So naturally, what used to happen is we would all go to bed fairly early in the day, and we would wake up in the middle of the night. And, there's all sorts of theories around this on, protection from animals in the dark and things of that nature. But we would be awake during the midnight time frame and then go back to bed early morning, especially with genetics that people who come from deep winter areas.
Wow, interesting. So depending on where you come from, you've got different sleep patterns historically.
Yeah. They're called clock genes. Funny enough, they
Oh.
literally, the rhythm in your body is genetically imprinted into you from the history of your ancestors.
Oh, wow. So some people have these genes and some people don't. And
we all have different variations. This is
right.
the whole aspect. Are you a morning person or are you a night owl?
Oh, wow. That makes yeah, for sure. I'm definitely a morning person, but I have a good friend and we joke about it. Yeah, she just said it this morning. She said, how can you be so chirpy in the morning? But that's true. In the evening, I'm like, I go to bed early. And
the trick is finding out which one you are. And then once you are that, then designing your life around it so that you can live at an optimal. This is where joy comes in. This is where energy comes in. This is where you wake up refreshed. When you get into that rhythm and you find it and you stick to a schedule, your body will naturally wake up within a 10-minute window of itself.
Interesting. Actually, I'm really curious now, Dr. Dave, for clients working privately with you, because I mean, this is all an awareness, really learning about yourself. Is that things that you check with them? Do you have kind of basic things that you check? And is that one of them?
100% my coaching. Yeah, so this is the deal, right? Anything, you can find any kind of health tip and trick on the internet, right? You can look up your paleo diets. You can look up sleep patterns. You can, all of that kind of stuff. The power of a coach, the power of someone helping you who is an expert in this is not for them to tell you what to do. It's for them to help you explore yourself.
Yes.
That is the real power in any
Become more educated and aware about yourself, right?
Yeah, and that's what these devices help with. That's what the coaching helps with, is we should be able to say, okay, do this for 2 weeks. Let's test and measure. Let's see, subjectively, like, do you feel better? Objectively, does your data show improvement?
Right. Okay.
If not, then we know that the tip isn't for you.
Right. Excellent. Which devices would you recommend starting with before we dive into we're already into the 6 tips, but I really would love to know which, for me, what would you recommend I start with?
Yeah, they all have their benefits and limitations, of course. And then depending on your personality type too, because some of them are pretty ugly.
Okay, no, I don't want ugly.
Some of them are fashionable. So really what it comes down to is start with what you're comfortable with. One of the big ones that a lot of people like to get into first is the Aurora Ring. Because
can you share a little bit about that? I'm curious about the Aurora Ring. Yeah,
the Aurora Ring is one of my top favorites because it is great at sleeping, tracking your sleep. It's not as great in the activity category. That's where like the Garmin watch comes in, and
or the Fitbit.
Yeah, exactly. So they kind of all have their strengths and their weaknesses depending on what you do. For me personally, and the people that I work with, I would rather focus on sleep, because activity is easy to track, and if you're getting burnt out or not, because if you work out too hard, you're going to start sleeping wrong. So you'll still see it in your sleep no matter what.
Right.
So that's where the Aurora Ring, there's a company called BioStrap. I'm excited to try. Amazon just released the new Halo. I haven't been able to try that yet. But all of those are good, easy, wearable sleep devices. The BioStrap one is a very comfortable band on there, and it has one of the highest rated sleep metrics for accuracy.
Okay, so that's a strap that you wear on your arm as opposed to the ring. But isn't the ring something you wear, the Aurora Ring, you wear it all the time, like nonstop, or?
Yeah, Aurora Ring wear it all the time. It isn't tracking all the time. It really turns on once you become less active. But almost all of them you can take on and off.
Right. Okay.
Depending on what you want to do with it.
Yeah. Interesting. And then just prices around. They're all around. What I think I checked the Aurora Ring is about, was it $200 or something? Yeah.
So it literally goes. The new Halo that Amazon releasing is only $69, and it's going to be like $3 a month after that.
Oh wow! The Halo, is that a ring or a bracelet or
that's a watch? Yep.
A watch. Okay.
Yep. And then the prices of these go all the way up to like $5,000 and $7,000 for the high-end Garmins and things of that nature. So it's the full price spectrum. Average is the $200 to $500 that gets you, most of the different devices. But like I said, in the next 5 years, all of these things, like every 6 months, there's new devices coming out and the prices are dropping. And, the beauty of where we're going from a technology and manufacturing standpoint is the cost of these things are going to come down to almost nothing. Nope. Either you froze or I froze.
Stream.
Oh, there you are.
Oh my God, hang on. Sorry about that. You lost me, but well, this is interesting because I just upgraded and I'm streaming to multiple sources, so maybe it's that. I'm not sure what happened there, but apologies.
Yeah, but it was cool because you suddenly slid into 2 spots and we're back.
There was a double neve. Okay, well, this is good because we're going to now transition to the 6 points, the 6 tips. So just if you could briefly explain, Dave, the 6 different areas. I love this. And actually, I should share that when you were talking about when you felt really burnt out, what came to me, I always think of this, is only give from your overflow. You were talking about a glass full of water, and it's like, it needs to be full so that you can give the overflow to others. And if not, you're going to feel resentful, depressed, have health issues. Oh, Lillian's there. She says, I froze. It was cool. I hope I was making a nice face, Lillian. Thanks for commenting. I hate when you freeze and you're making it. So, right. Yeah. So anyway, that's, I just love to remember that. So, and I think it's fantastic that you're using that analogy of like, filling your glass, making it full with 6 different things. What are they?
Yeah, well, and I wish that statement that you just said, I wish I would have had awareness around that, because my bucket was on empty and I was still trying to like scrape the dust out of the bucket because I was working with so many different charities. I was donating so much of my time. And, my idea growing up, I grew up in a very community service based family where you give endlessly to people and even at the cost of your own, finances and the cost of your own health and all of those sorts of things.
Right.
And so when I had my practice, I was literally out of my water in my bucket. I was scraping it dry and I was still trying to chug along and go. And it just wasn't working. So it's a great analogy for people.
Yeah. No, it is. It's super.
Gotta turn you in. So the things that I say have the biggest impact on our buckets, there's 6 categories. And really it's taking a perspective of how do we holistically look at someone's life, because that could be someone's work all the way through to different areas, right? So these 6 categories that I whittled down are the big categories. They're the big things that allow you to think very easily about, okay, am I getting this? Am I getting this? Am I getting this? And so that's sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Fuel, which is, everything around food and nutrition and supplements and things of that nature. Movement, which is all about, are we playing? Are we getting our heart rate up? Are we strength training? All of that category.
Right.
Our environment, which is the air quality around us, the water quality, our cooking materials, but also our microbiome and our skin.
That comes to environment. Okay.
Yeah, what are the things around us, right?
Right. Well, that's in us, right? Isn't it?
There's trillions of other critters crawling around on us that are technically our environment, that are actually controlling our emotions.
Wow,
cool stuff. Then there's a nerve category, and this is everything from breathing to trauma, childhood abuse, business abuse, all of those sorts of things.
Yeah, the emotional.
yeah, they affect our nervous system.
Mhm.
And then there's the mindset category, which can be everything from that work. Are we feeling passion with our work? To are we living in the present? Are we living, future based, or are we living behind?
Right.
And
I just have to say, as just for viewers, this is my first official episode. I was explaining to Dr. Dave before going live, and my podcast that I just decided this morning is called Love Life Now in the present. It's like, I think that has to be our number one goal, because, if you just work with what you've got right now. And
well, and that's exactly it. That was actually one of the tips that I was going to get into. So that's perfect. You guys,
awesome.
we were matched today.
Awesome.
We were matched.
Which category does that go in then? The mindset category, or
the mindset category? Yeah, because what most people do, and especially if you're an entrepreneur, business owner, executive, something of that nature, a lot of people that I work with are thinking future based. They want to make an impact. They want to see the future come real. And what they don't do is they don't start to appreciate the present moment.
So important. Yeah. When I really got that, I think, something significantly shifted for me in my life, that it's not worth it, because you don't know if you're ever going to get there. You've got to, enjoy yourself now as well. It's so important.
Yeah.
Lillian is commenting. She says, "We love you as you are, Need, anytime, anywhere, anyhow." Thank you. That's so kind, Lillian. Oh yeah, because it was double me. She says, "Yes, love life now. Love life now." So,
yes, very much so. And there's all sorts of different ways to do this. A big tip that I have that helps knock people out of the future and gets them into the present is just journaling. Doing a brain dump where you're getting out all of those future-based thoughts, and then you're reflecting on for a second, and then bringing up all of today's stuff. So allowing that journaling to happen, and in relation to sleep, because a lot of what I do is getting people to sleep better.
Yes.
Is when you journal at the end of the day and you reflect on the day, it brings your mind to the present day. And that stops the racing and anxiety at night, which then allows you to get into your deeper sleep patterns.
This is interesting. So you're recommending journaling at night then, as opposed to the morning, or both?
Yeah, well, or both, or whatever works for you. I'm personally a person that I don't like big complex journals. For me personally, I don't like writing out big long things. In the morning, I like to set my intentions from a journaling standpoint. And then I break things up into 3 categories of my to-do list, because I want to get out of a to-do list. I want to make sure that I'm doing a good blend of, I don't want to be doing something that's on fire every day, which is what most business owners do. And they never actually grow their business, and they never actually achieve their goals.
Right.
So categorizing that helps you reduce your anxiety for during the day and getting your stuff done. At night, when you're reflecting, for me, it's just as simple as what went right, what didn't I like, where was I uncomfortable, what could I do better to improve on that. And to me, that works really well for me. Other people need to do a big brain dump where they need to write 2 pages worth of stuff at the end of the day to just get it all out so that they can.
I might try that. Yeah, because I don't really do it at night. I journal only at night, says Lillian. And she also says, "Dr. Dave, I tried it and I failed badly, really." I think that comment was when you were talking about a lot of entrepreneurs try to, what did you say, be on fire every day and not?
Well, yeah, they try to do the stuff that's on fire every day.
Right.
So they make these big long to-do lists and then never get through it, because a to-do list never ends. You'll never finish off a to-do list. And that's the hardest thing for people to understand.
Right. Yeah. So it's really just focusing, isn't it? Focusing on the top priorities. Yeah.
Well, and what I do with that is and more specifically, I do long-term. So I always make sure I'm doing 1 to 2 things that are for my long-term goals. So that may be the easy, cheesy example that everyone uses is instead of paying your bills, taking the time to set up in QuickBooks your automatic reoccurring payment. It may take you an hour to do that.
Right.
Then you're saving 20 hours down the road throughout the year.
Totally.
So that's the cheesy example that you can give of So in my to-do list on an everyday basis, I'm working towards my long-term goals every single day. Then I have medium, and then I have my stuff that's on fire. And I never allow myself to have a lot in that on fire category.
Okay.
Because what your brain thinks is a priority typically isn't a priority when it comes to business or just doing stuff.
Yeah. Right. Actually, I'm just reminded of that, analogy where we're constantly firefighting, like putting out fires, and the stress of that we're in fight or flight mode, as opposed to taking care of ourselves. And that's something that I think I got as well, that I say that as well. It's like going for a massage, or doing things that are like yoga. I see all of that. I do yoga every morning. I see all of that as an investment in my business, even massage, because my product is me, and I have to, I need high energy, I need good vibration, and it doesn't work if you're not taking care of yourself, right?
Yeah, you've got to treat yourself like a professional athlete.
Yeah, right. That's a good analogy. Right. Okay, so we have journaling, which goes in the mindset category.
Yep. Yeah. We can do sleep. So sleep, we already talked about the blue lights. So turning screen time off an hour before and seeing how that goes.
Right. Sleep. What category does that go in of your 6 categories?
Sleep.
The category is called sleep. Oh, I'm sorry, of course. Yeah, which is great. I mean, sleep is
it's hard. I mean, if we could screen share and I could bring up the map, but we'll just talk for it.
Right. But it is in your Facebook group, and I'll put the link to your Facebook group so people can check it out after. Yeah. Okay, I'll do a recap. I'll do a recap of the 6.
Yeah. So mindset, sleep, and then fuel would be the next category.
Right.
And an easy tip to do is don't eat carbs a couple of hours before bed.
Yeah.
Carbs in a lot of people actually stimulates a neurotransmitter pathway in a good percentage of the population, not all of the percentage. Some people, this doesn't affect them at all. But a good percentage of the people, it makes a neurotransmitter go in our brain that keeps us up and keeps us thinking.
That's
interesting. So by limiting your carbs right before bed, you can actually have a calming effect that allows you to fall asleep faster.
Right. Yeah. That's probably for me. I try to fast a couple of hours before bedtime. Yeah. Even like from 5 p.m., then I know I'll sleep really well. If I go to a restaurant, forget it. And if I eat something like pasta, then I don't sleep well at all.
Which is a perfect self-awareness. And that's the purpose of all this, is figuring out what time frame that is for you, what types of food that is for you. Some people do. I do really well with like bone broth or eggs or cottage cheese right before bed. For some reason that just knocks me out. I can sleep really well if I have just a little bit of that before bed.
Right.
You just got to figure out what works best for you in that category.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Okay, so that's the sleep category. No. By the way, can I say on the carbs, what I've learned is like talking about macros, like and I really struggle with this. I think I've learned like 40% carb, 30% fat, good fats, and 30% protein. Is that roughly?
Yeah, there's no right or wrong.
The ratio?
Yeah, there's no right or wrong. Yeah, you've got to figure out what matches your genetics.
Okay.
Right. What enzymes do you have? Some people have more fat converting enzymes, so they need a higher fat diet. These are the people from the Mediterranean and things of that nature.
Okay.
Think of the lineage from Eskimos, the Inuit people, where they'd ate nothing but fat, right? So genetically,
protein.
What's that?
Fat and protein.
Yeah, fat and protein.
Yeah.
So genetically speaking, over the centuries, of the people who lived where there really wasn't vegetables growing and plants, right? They genetically modified to have a lot of enzymes in their body to digest fat.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Mm-hmm.
So everyone's different, and this is where finding that groove for you. Some people do really well with a high carb diet. Some people do really well with a high fat diet. And then even more so, what the take home, since we're on this, is that if you stick with any one thing, it becomes bad for you.
Interesting.
So there is no such thing as the perfect diet. Our bodies are required to have variety, just like the seasons.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so what you think is great for you, you should be minor modifications through the years.
Interesting.
And as your hormones start to change and things of that nature, you're going to find that you're going to need a different diet style as you go through.
Right.
So just when you think you've got it nailed down, you're probably at the point where you need to like stick with that maybe for 6 months, 9 months, and then try something new.
Right. And that's really interesting. And that also, it's like if anybody's listening and thinking, oh, well, I actually have a really good diet. I got it down. You know, I figured that out 5 years ago. Well, hang on a minute. Maybe you could be performing at a much higher level. Maybe you could have more energy if you were.
The people, this is really fun about this industry, is that the people who think that they know the best about their diet, typically they run into problems 3, 4, 5 years down the road. And they just, you know, it's not talked about enough in the industry. We all want that fast fix, and we all want that gluten-free. We all want that dairy-free. Oh, great, paleo. Yay, I'm doing this, and I'm amazing, and I'm healed, and I'm fixed. And you're like 2 years into your journey.
Yeah.
Well, that's right at the good spot. That's right at the sweet spot. 4 or 5 years into a lot of doing the same thing consistently, and you almost always run yourself into hormonal problems and different things that way. Yep.
Interesting. Really interesting. Wow.
So, but there's a cognitive dissonance that people have where they're very proud and they fight tooth and nail that they're doing the right thing, and you can't tell them anything otherwise.
Yes. Right. Yeah. There's a lot of ego involved in that as well, isn't there?
Very much ego. Yeah. Because they're very proud of the health journey that they went on.
Yes.
And that's really cool. And I support that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just find it fascinating because I just find that people can be very adamant. My way is the way it works. I know. And one will be vegan, one will be vegetarian, one will be carnivore, you know, and it's like, and they all say this works, and they love all the scientific evidence that backs it. It reminds me of something else going on in the world right now, but we won't talk about politics. But it's like, I know, I'm right, and it's interesting.
It's the exact same thing. It literally is the exact same thing to the brain. It's the primal engagement. That is the way our brain is wired. Is that we have to have this polarization. Most people can't be stuck in the middle of their thought processes. They have to have a polarization. And so that's why politics, religion, and all of these things that there is no answer for.
Yes.
People become polarized and adamant towards their one side. And that's just, you know, in a really good sense, it's why we've evolved the way that we have. Is so why we've survived. Because if we sat around and questioned everything, we probably would have been eaten by the saber-toothed tigers or something like that.
Right. Yeah. It's really interesting, isn't it? If you take a step back, you think like, come on, guys. There's truth in everything, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So
okay, sorry for sidetracking. I could chat to you all evening.
It's very easy to get sidetracked on all these conversations.
Yes.
The next category would be movement. Okay. And so movement, we always have to have a blend. And for this one, I'm just going to select an awareness. There's 4 categories in the movement. There's play, which includes recreation and things of that nature.
Okay.
But just having fun and joy with what you're doing.
Right.
Then there is movement. So it's movement and then movement.
Yes.
These are like the yogas and the Pilates. Then there's heart rate increase. So I'm trying to get that into the screen. Yes. There you go. And then there's strength training.
Right. Yes.
You have to have a blend of all 4 in order to actually be healthy. So the common thing that people miss out on is if you're an Ironman participant, you typically only do the heart rate category, right? You maybe stretch, or you maybe go to that yoga class that is geared towards Ironman participants, but you're not really doing true movement. Or you're not truly doing play, you're just doing the heart rate thing.
Right.
And you miss out on all the other categories. Same thing with a lot of yoga people that I come across. They forget to go play. They forget to strength train. They forget to get their heart rate up.
But I love yoga. It's like playing to me, you know?
Well, it is, but for you, then a balance point, and this is where the flexibility of this category really comes in, is that let's just take walking as an example. You could walk for fun, which balances your nervous system and creates a whole different effect. That would be in the movement category.
Right. I walk my dog, which is fun.
Yeah. Or you could try to walk up and down a hill and really get your heart rate going, right? So that would be a heart rate activity. And so there's a lot of flexibility. You could be doing yoga, and especially now with the American commercialized yoga classes here, where you're like hot yoga, lifting weights, all at the same
Right.
time doing yoga, and it's not, it's whatever you want to call it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you just get locked into these one certain things, and you're forgetting about the other stuff. So if you're doing something like that, you need to remember to go kayak. You need to remember to go like have fun doing something different.
Yeah. Swim in the lake. That's what I'm doing for fun with friends at the moment, is swimming in the cold water, I think. But I am aware, I didn't realize, I mean, I only learned this more recent years about how important at every age strength training is, even, in your 70s and your 80s, to lift weights. I tell my mother, it's like, get some weights, some light weights. And it's really...
Well, I would counter that and say heavy weights. It's much more effective if you do like 1 day a week. A lot of times, this is what I do for people, is I get them 1 day a week for half an hour, try to lift as much heavy stuff as possible.
Go to failure.
Yeah, well, and not even that. It's you can. That's one strategy. The other strategy is just like, go pick the end of your couch up, or go carry a rock across your yard.
Right. Yeah. True. Absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense. Awesome. Okay.
So that's the movement category. The next category is environment.
Yep.
And what I'll say about that, because it's a pretty big complex, but making sure your water is filtered. There's so many chemicals in just tap water and things of that nature. Just, get some sort of water filter for your house.
Right. That's a really good and interesting point. I mean, I live in Switzerland, and I think our water quality is pretty good here. Like, I think, doesn't it vary country to country, or do you think just it sucks in every country?
Massively varies from country to country. And so there's two big reasons why I say this. One is that whatever the standard is for your area, even in America, from city to city, they have different variances on what they allow in. But all of them think of all the pharmaceuticals, think of all the hormone disruption things that are at acceptable levels according to whatever your government standards are. Those still affect you.
Yes, that makes sense. Yeah, so I have a Brita filter, like just from the supermarket. I don't know if you're familiar with that in the US, but yeah, so that's probably a help, but not. I know the top of the range is, what do you call that again? Oh, it sounds like Garmin, but it's not. There's
the Berkey. Yeah, Berkey is like the worldwide company that.
Okay, no, it's not that. There's another one, Tangen or Gangen or.
Kangen water filter.
Kangen, yes, that's it. That's kind of the top of the range, no, isn't it? That's
well, that also does. That makes it alkaline. So that's something different, but they do go through a filtration process as well. So that filtration process in that is what I'm talking about.
Right. Okay, good.
So getting all the crud out of your water that the sewage treatment plant puts into.
Wow. Okay. This is a really great point. Thank you. That's something I'm going to be more. Yeah, because I do. Yeah, I drink a lot of tap water as well. In Switzerland, I kind of I don't know. I feel like it's safe, but
most governments have to treat it by law. So they add chemicals to it to kill other chemicals, but all that stuff leaves residue in it, and a certain percentage of the population is going to be sensitive to it.
Right, that makes sense.
The second big thing, and this is what it was almost never talked about, and I'm fortunate I had one of my patients was he was an entrepreneur and he owned a big water business, but he worked regularly with the city government and officials. One of the big problems in getting plumbing to people's houses is that the pipes leak. And so on one end, there's lots of water loss that happens in our public system, and it's very inefficient. But also the bigger problem is that bacteria goes in through the pipes where all these cracks are. And so no matter what happens from the sewage treatment plant, they do their great job or whatever. The pipes that are going to your house, if they have any cracks, which almost apparently 20 or 25% of them do, you're getting things like E. coli and stuff like that into your system. Not enough to make you sick where you're physically like, how did I get E. coli? But it's enough that she's going to have an immune response in your body. And so no matter how good your water filtration system is in your city, there's still leaky pipes that are going to your house. And so To me, after I started learning that stuff, I was like, okay, no matter what, I'm going to filter my water.
Yeah, me too from now on, that's for sure. I'm sorry, I just have to ask one question. I'm really curious, and we'll move on to the next category. But I mean, I don't, for just because it's not good for the environment, I don't buy plastic water bottles. But I'm curious about, right, yeah, but I'm curious because doesn't it leak anyway into the water? Or I know if you leave a plastic bottle of water in your car, that it definitely leaks.
There's all different levels of chemicals that leak in, and even the BPA free ones, you know, if you set them in the sun and things like that, there's going to be stuff that I personally think when they say something is safe, you always have to remember that life is about percentages, and those percentages are going to affect a certain percentage of the population.
Interesting, yeah.
Nothing is ever an all or none. They're never going to make an inert. It's called inert when two chemicals can't react together.
Okay.
They're never going to be able to make inert substances, and if they do, they're not going to be cost effective to make massive bottles for the world population, kind of thing.
Right. Interesting. Okay. So the bottom line is just get a good filter and don't drink tap water.
Yep. So that's that category. And then the last category would be nerves. And in this category, I'm just going to talk about the simple fact of breathing through your nose is going to actually create a chemical response in your body that allows a balancing of the nervous system and allows your brain to relax, which then in turn gives you more energy.
Yes, this is a great tip. I know about this one, keeping your mouth closed, basically, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's it. No, I follow this guy, the Oxygen Advantage, Patrick, an Irish guy, and the Betoiko method. I can't remember the name of the method, but he shares about it. But basically, I did a workshop on it, actually for sports performance, and it's like unless you're out of really, doing anaerobic, is it? You're like really intense activity. Where you have to have your mouth open, where you're out of breath. Otherwise, just keep it closed, which is hard to do.
It really is. Yeah, you have to do a lot of training to do that. But from the everyday person who's sitting in front of their computer, they don't realize how much they breathe through their mouth. And especially people, so like when I'm working with patients who are doing this type of stuff, right? We're talking a lot. We're doing a lot of off-gassing. And that creates an imbalance in our body, and we have to counteract. So like if you're a salesperson, in between sales calls, you should take 10 to 30 seconds to just close your mouth and breathe through your nose to reset your nervous system before the next call.
I think that's really good because apparently really you can preserve a lot of energy by doing that. That's such a simple tip, isn't it? But it's not publicized.
Massive change in your health.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. Fantastic. Wow. Okay. Oh my God. I'm sorry. It's we're at the top of the hour. Do we have time to recap the 6 tips or?
Sure, we can. Yeah. So mindset, do journaling and figure out which journaling system works best for you. Try brain dump at the end of the night. We've got sleep, turn your blue lights off an hour before bed. The fuel category is don't eat carbs a couple hours before bed.
Right.
Movement category is having the awareness of when you're looking at your programming to make sure you're getting all 4 categories and just doing some fun stuff in there. Find some joy in what you're doing. Yeah. The environment is clean water, and clean water.
Yeah.
And then the nerves is just breathe through your nose.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Wow, this was really incredible. Any final tips to share? Any final piece of advice that you'd give to people that are, really committed to shifting their health and their wellness? And
the take-home message here is find your perspective of what works for you. You cannot just rely on internet sources. You take those things, you test and measure. So if you think something is working for you, try to really this is where journaling can help you, the biometric devices can help you, and get proof that it's actually working for you. And then keep trying new things in your life. Nothing ever needs to stay the same. You can always be constantly adapting.
Testing and awareness. Fantastic. And of course, everybody should also join your Facebook group called Authentic. Do you actually pronounce it Authentic? I noticed.
No, it's whatever happens. Yeah, it's Authentic with 2 eyes. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much, Dr. Dave. This has been incredible value, and I hope that everyone tuned in got lots of value from it too. And please share it. Please share it out, everybody, because I think it's important information that people are just not aware of. You know, those 6 tips are really valuable. So thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening. Bye. And